This is a summary of what we talked about this morning in our breakfast service. We're looking at John chapter 5, and it's a story where Jesus comes across a man who is unable to walk. The man is lying at a pool in Jerusalem beside lots of other people with disabilities, and apparently if you could get in that pool, then you would be miraculously healed. Jesus says to the man, "Do you want to be healed?" Apparently this man's been there for decades. And the man says, "Well, I can't get in the pool, I've got no one to help me." Now, Jesus doesn't push him in the pool or even say that superstition would have worked. Jesus says to him, "Get up and walk. Take your mat and off you go." We talked a little bit about why would Jesus have asked him if he wanted to be healed? Doesn't Jesus just assume what this man needs? And actually, quite often in the New Testament, Jesus doesn't simply heal someone with a disability. He asks them, "What do you want?" We might think it's obvious what this person needs, but Jesus doesn't assume. He asks the person, "Is this what you want? Do you want to see? Do you want to be able to walk again?" Perhaps that's not the thing that they're most concerned about. And in fact, the story might actually underscore that, because at the end, Jesus says to the man, "Now, stop sinning or something worse might happen to you." Usually in the New Testament, people's disabilities or any other thing like that is detached from sin. It's not their fault, it's not their parents' fault, it's just something that has happened. But in this particular case, could it be that this man, that the situation he's found himself in is connected to his sin? Perhaps. In general, it's best to err on the side of caution and to recognise that most of the things that we might think need to be changed about us, most of the things that we might deal with or go through have very little to do with our sin. They're just the way the world is. But the more interesting thing we talked about was actually that Jesus deals with sin and thinks that's a much more pressing need than whether or not the man needs to be healed from whatever particular disability he has. We thought a little bit about assumptions that people have about disabilities and whether or not they need to be healed. Do people really need to have that physical change or that transformation? Or is that something we presume? Again, isn't it interesting that Jesus asks if people want change? He doesn't presume that. But at the same time, are there things about us that we think need to be changed? Are there things that we are concerned about, our appearance or our abilities, that we think is the most pressing need? Are there things that we feel exclude us or make us different that we don't like? And do we assume that they should be changed in order for us to be acceptable or acceptable to God? Because God doesn't appear to be focused on those things. God is more concerned, and through his son, Jesus, he is more concerned about the need for inner transformation, the forgiveness of sins. He's more concerned about that than he is about this physical change or healing that the man experiences. What are the things in your life that you focus on thinking they need changed when actually God wants to do something completely different? Are you open to God transforming you in ways that you couldn't imagine? Are you open to God challenging your priorities and your preferences for what needs changed? What if you are focused on the healing of some situation or the transformation of some situation, and God is much more concerned about transforming your character or building your faith? Might today's story speak to you about what God wants to do and how God wants to transform you? We all need to be healed in different ways. We all need to be transformed. But are we open-minded enough to see what God might prioritise about us? Ultimately, we believe that he wants to forgive us and to heal us so that we can be transformed to be like Jesus Christ. And that's not about our physical appearance or abilities or disabilities. That's about our character. Who are we in Jesus Christ?